Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be going in depth into my top 24 ranked quarterbacks and tight ends for week number 9 of the 2022 fantasy football season. But before we could get into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at notorious. FNTSY. And if you have any questions about week number 9, please ask down below in the comment section or in the Discord linked in the pinned comment and the video description. We'll be talking about our sponsor of today's video, DraftKings Sportsbook, later. So without further ado, let's get into today's video. We begin with quarterbacks 1 through 8, headlined by Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills going up against the New York Jumbo Jets in MetLife on Sunday. So for the first 6 games of the season, Josh Allen was a top 5 quarterback in every single game. He was on bye in week 7, but last week up against the Packers, he was the quarterback number 11 on the season. He's currently the quarterback 1. The Jets defense is incredible. I will give them that. But at the end of the day, this Buffalo offense is just far too much for that Jets defense. And I think Josh Allen rolls them up and smokes them like a blunt. At number 2, we move to Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs going up against the LA Titans, the Tennessee Titans in Kansas City on Sunday Night Football. Patrick Mahomes has been a top 12 quarterback in every single game outside of a week 2 up against the Chargers, where it was the quarterback number 13. He's currently the quarterback 5 on the season. The Titans defense is relatively decent, but again, at the end of the day, the Kansas City Chiefs are big favorites in this game, and I think Patrick Mahomes gets it done easily to finish as a top 5 quarterback. At number 3, we have Justin Herbert, the pervert of the LA Chargers, going up against the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta. Now, I know Justin Herbert has definitely been a huge disappointment this season in fantasy football, as he is currently only the quarterback number 13 on the season. And obviously, if you drafted him as a top 5 quarterback, if he was quarterback 6 or 7, maybe you can excuse things, right? But quarterback 13 is extremely bad based upon where you drafted him. But this week, he gets the bum-ass Atlanta Falcons defense in Atlanta. I think this is a bounce-back spot for Justin Herbert, despite the fact that both Keenan Allen, I assume Keenan Allen's going to be out, and Mike Williams are going to be out in this spot. Next up, we move to quarterback number 4, Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens, going up against the New Orleans Saints in prime time on Monday Night Football in New Orleans. So for Lamar Jackson's season, it has really been a tale of 2 halves. To start off the season, Lamar Jackson was fucking unstoppable. Quarterback 8, 1 and 1. Then after that, quarterback 19, 15, 11, 22, and 9 last week up against the Buccaneers. Now, despite this up and down nature of the season, he is still the quarterback number 4 in all of fantasy football. The Saints defense has certainly gotten better. They looked really good last week up against the Las Vegas Raiders, but in my opinion, that's more the fact that the Las Vegas Raiders offense was just dick cheese in that game and not really too much about the Saints defense being amazing. I like Lamar Jackson in this spot, but it's definitely worrisome that he has not been as good as he was to start off the season. Through the first couple of games, it looked like he was going to run away with the MVP in the NFL, but right now he does not seem like the favorite. Next up, we move to the short king, the king of Call of Duty, Kyler Murray of the Arizona Cardinals, going up against the Seattle Seahawks. Now, the last time these two teams went toe-to-toe, it was an incredibly low-scoring game, but despite that, Kyler Murray was still the quarterback number 14 on the week. Now, Vegas, all these sportsbooks like DraftKings, the sponsor of today's video, believe this is going to be a higher scoring game, that this isn't going to be a fucking snooze fest like the first time that these two teams went toe-to-toe. I hope that the sportsbooks are right, because this matchup reeks of points. The issue is last time it reeked of points and nothing ended up happening. Last week, Kyler was the quarterback number 3. He's currently the quarterback number 6 on the season. He has been relatively consistent every single game. He has only finished outside the top 12 quarterbacks twice thus far through 8 games, so I feel very comfortable playing Kyler Murray in this spot up against the Seahawks defense. It appears that DeAndre Hopkins has really helped Kyler Murray out a ton. Shocker, he's one of the best receivers in the NFL. Next up, we move to my quarterback number 6, Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty of the Cincinnati Bengals, going up against the Carolina Panthers. Now, last week, going up against the Cleveland Browns in prime time, everyone and their mother thought that the Cincinnati Bengals were going to absolutely eviscerate. They were going to skull fuck the Cleveland Browns. But despite that thought process, Joe Burrow was only the quarterback 22 in that game, and that's really just because he scored 2 garbage time touchdowns to Boyd and Higgins at the end of the game. But this week, he has a clear bounce back spot up against a bad Carolina Panthers team. I know that without Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow struggled last week, but I don't think they need Jamar Chase to put up big points up against the Panthers defense. At number 7, we move to my guy, Tua Tagovailoa of the Miami Dolphins, going up against the Chicago Bears in Chicago. Last week, Tua was the quarterback number 1 in all of fantasy football. So this week, they get the Bears, and it appears that weather is not going to be as much of an issue than I previously thought. But again, today's video is being recorded on Saturday. On Sunday morning, since this game starts at 1 p.m., we will have a much better idea on how windy this game is going to be. Because if this game doesn't end up being super windy like they were saying, then Tua Tagovailoa can move all the way up to, I would say, quarterback 6 or maybe quarterback number 5 in my rankings. But right now, knowing that there probably is going to be some wind, I do worry because I think the Dolphins might just look to jam the ball down the throat of the Bears defense by running the rock aggressively. At number 8 to close out the top 8, we have Mr. You Like That, Kirk Cousins of the Minnesota Vikings going up against the Commanders in Washington. A revenge game for Mr. Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, every single year in fantasy football, is the most mid quarterback ever because he's always going to finish from, I'd say, quarterback 8 to quarterback 14, basically every single week. He's the quarterback number 12 on the season. I like this matchup a ton up against the Commanders, but we all know that Kirk Cousins can do that thing where despite the fact that the matchup's really easy, he just shits the bed. So that's why he's quarterback 8 and not ranked a little bit higher. Now we move to quarterbacks 9 through 16, headlined by Geno Smith of the Seattle Seahawks, going up against the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. Last time these two teams played was at home in Seattle. In that game, Geno Smith was the quarterback number 19. Again, that was an incredibly low scoring game. This time out, we are hoping that this becomes a more high scoring tit for tat affair. Last week, Geno was the quarterback number 13, and he's recently had a bit of a come down from that fire that he was on. This guy was on fucking fire from weeks 3 to 5, quarterback 7, 2, and 4. Recently, he's been quarterback 19, 15, and 13. He's currently the quarterback 7 on the season, so I definitely got to still give him some credit, even though he's been a little bit colder as of recently. This matchup up against the Cardinals is definitely ideal, so I hope this one becomes higher scoring. At number 10, we have Justin Fields of the Chicago Bears going up against the Miami Dolphins. Now, the difference between Tua and Justin Fields is the fact that Justin Fields does not need to worry about the wind because his bread and butter isn't throwing for 250 yards, 300 yards, throwing 3 touchdowns, right? For Fields to succeed in fantasy football, he just needs to run the ball a bunch. 8 carries last week for 60 yards. The week prior to that, 14 carries for 82 yards, 12 carries for 88 yards the week before. So he is going to try to run the ball a ton. It appears that Matt Eberflus and this offense have committed to catering the offense around what Justin Fields is good at, and that is running the ball. So Justin Fields has been amazing for fantasy. Quarterback 8, 5, and 5 through the last 3 weeks. He's currently the quarterback number 11. We need to start putting some respect on Justin Fields' name. At number 11, we move to Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, that old bastard going up against the LA Rams. Now, Tom Brady has not been good this season. Flat out, this guy has been terrible. He's quarterback 14 on the season. To read off his numbers, quarterback 26, 28, 19, 4, 7, 16, 21, 19. They get the Rams this week, and the Rams defense is not the same Rams defense of the past. But I will tell you right now, I feel way more confident with the top 10 quarterbacks than I do with anyone after this. So with Tom Brady, I am definitely nervous about him in this spot. I think he has a decent game, but I don't really feel comfortable telling you guys that I'm super confident in Tom Brady anymore because he just hasn't deserved that confidence through the first. It's not the first couple games of the season at this point. It's been the first 8 games of the season. Next up, we move to Mr. Discount Double Check Aaron Rodgers, quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, going up against a putrid Lions defense in Detroit. Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, these two old washed-up men. Now, Aaron Rodgers hasn't been as washed. I know in week 1 he was quarterback 32, dead last at the quarterback position. But outside of that, he's been quarterback 17, 13, 14, 14, 20, 12, and 20. So he's just been decent. I think this week, if there was ever a week for the Packers to turn it around, it would be up against one of the worst, if not the worst defense in the NFL. So Rodgers is quarterback 12. At number 13, we got the other quarterback in this game, Jared Goff. Now, to start off the season, Jared Goff was piping hot. Quarterback 18, 8, 18-1. After that, quarterback 29, 28, and last week he bounced back slightly up against the Dolphins as quarterback number 16. Now, the Packers defense definitely isn't all that great either, and if Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers are able to push the agenda, have this be a super high-scoring game from the Packers side, the Lions have a pretty good offense, and they're going to have to throw the ball back on into the game, and I think Goff could have a pretty solid showing. Though I will note, it is important to understand that Goff did lose TJ Hawkinson, and that when they get on the goal line, they love to run the ball, which definitely hurts Goff's upside. Before we move on into the rest of the quarterbacks and then into the tight ends, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends and our sponsor of today's video, DraftKings Sportsbook. If you guys bet $5 on any sport pregame money line as a new user clicking the link in the video description, you'll receive $200 in free bets if your team wins on DraftKings Sportsbook. So you could bet it on the NHL, NBA, NFL, college football. So, in my opinion, since this bet has to win, again, bet $5 on any pregame money line and you will get $200 in free bets if your bet wins. You should be betting on the biggest college football favorites because those are most likely to win. For instance, this Saturday, Oregon minus 2,000. It's easy to see that they're going to win. That's a 99.5% implied win probability. College football will always be the most appealing, in my opinion, to trying to get that the quote-unquote guaranteed win. So make sure you guys do go ahead and check that out. Link in the video description. Bet $10 on any pregame money line of any sport and get $200 if your bet wins in free bets. You got to be a new user, and you got to click the link in the video description or in the pinned comment. It's free money. So make sure you guys take advantage of it because it's not going to be here forever. Next up, we move to quarterback number 14, Derek Carr of the Las Vegas Raiders, going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville. Now, last week we talked about it. We've talked about it all week. The Raiders shit the bed big time in that game. We saw Derek Carr had fucking 101 yards, -1 rushing yards, an interception, and 3 fantasy points. Quarterback number 29. Derek Carr not only shit the bed, but he went to get off the bed after he shit the bed, and he shit all the way to the bathroom, leaving a trail like he's a fucking snail. And then just destroyed the bathroom, right? He wrote shit on the wall. It's disgusting. Derek Carr, putrid game. The Jaguars defense has been on a downward spiral. They have been awful. So I think Derek Carr gets it done this week, but my confidence in Derek Carr is at an all-time low. At number 15, we have Marcus Mariota of the Atlanta Falcons going up against the LA Chargers at home in Atlanta. Now, last week was the first time that we actually saw Arthur Smith trust Marcus Mariota because he threw the ball 28 times. Now, week 1, he threw the ball 33 times, but really since then, we're down late in the game, like up against the Bucs or up against these teams, and we're just gonna run the ball. Just gonna run the ball instead of trying to win the game. Let's just run the ball. Let's have some fun, run the ball. Makes no fucking sense. Throw the ball late in the game. Try to win the game. It's not like the Bucs have this huge lead on the division. The Falcons could win this fucking division. Throw the football late in the game, and they did, and he was the quarterback 6 last week. The Chargers defense has been absolutely fucking atrocious. Going into the season, we all thought this Chargers defense was going to be great, and just like every other year, they end up getting hurt, and they end up being fucking putrid. I love Marcus Mariota in this spot up against the Chargers defense, but we always know in the back of our head, oh, that's the front of my head, but the back of my head, that, hey, Arthur Smith's still a head coach, and he could just fuck everything up. At quarterback number 16, we have the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton of the New Orleans Saints, back-to-back games inside the top 18 at the quarterback position. Quarterback 2 in week 7, quarterback 18 in week 8 up against the Raiders. Now, Andy Dalton is definitely not the most exciting quarterback to throw into your lineup. He's basically like wrapping 2 condoms around your roster. He's extremely safe. He's probably not going to win you your week, but he's also probably not going to end up screwing you over and diddling your roster. So the Ravens defense has gotten slightly better, but they're still pretty bad. So I think Dalton could get it done this week, assuming that Taysom Hill doesn't vulture like 4 touchdowns. At number 17, we move to Trevor Lawrence of the Jacksonville Jaguars, going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. Trevor Lawrence's season has been a roller coaster ride. Quarterback 24, 12, 4, 30, 21, 4, 7, and 26. Currently the quarterback 10 on the season. Again, the Raiders defense is straight up dookie, but Trevor Lawrence and his Jaguars team have been so up and down. It is very hard to figure out what I think about Lawrence. Now, last week he played up against the Broncos, and the Broncos have one of the best defenses in the NFL. So the fact that he was quarterback 26 doesn't necessarily surprise me. So I think he bounces back this week. But again, this Jaguars team has been very confusing. At number 18, we have Taylor Heineke, the Heinekeanator of the Washington Commanders, going up against the Minnesota Vikings. Last week, he was the quarterback number 8, quarterback 13 in week number 7. I like this matchup a ton for him. I think he's a really risky option, though, because he makes all these crazy throws. I always talk about this. The fuck it, Terry McLaurin out there somewhere. Like, he's going to throw the ball deep down the field into triple coverage. McLaurin might catch it, or it might be a pick 6. So it does make Heineke kind of nerve-wracking to start. But at the end of the day, if you haven't ranked outside the top 18 at this point, based upon what we've seen, you are a little bit crazy at number 19. Now, 19 through 24, if you have to start any of these guys, you are at a severe disadvantage. Quarterback number 19, Matthew Stafford. This guy has been straight up butt booty cheeks all season long. Quarterback 18 in week 6, week 7 on bye. Last week up against the Niners, quarterback 17. Things haven't been great for Stafford. Cooper Kupp might not end up playing on Sunday, making things even worse. The Bucs defense, I know, hasn't been the best, but they're still decent. I worry about Matthew Stafford, man. This offensive line is not helping him at all. At number 20, we move to PJ Walker, XFL legend of the Carolina Panthers, going up against the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati. Back-to-back weeks as a top 15 quarterback. Funny enough, a lot of the reason why people talked up PJ Walker a couple weeks ago when he became the guy is because of the rushing upside, and I'll give it to him. In the XFL, he did run the ball, but he only has 2 rushes thus far through the first 4 games that he has played in on the season. So there's not really a lot of rushing upside, but he's been carving defenses up recently, and he's looked incredible. Now, the Bengals defense, I know they played awful against the Browns, but I do think the Bengals defense is much better than we saw last week. So while I think Walker's really interesting, he's super exciting, do you really want to risk your week on PJ Walker? Probably not. At number 21, we have Mystic Mac Jones. This guy is fucking awful. The NFL put wool over your eyes by ranking this guy inside of the top 100 players in the NFL last season. Whoever the fuck votes for this should be fucking executed. Mac Jones is dog shit. He was dog shit last season, and everyone's just getting on their knees, gawk 9,000, fucking double fisting his cock because he's on the Patriots. This guy is fucking awful, and we've seen it. Quarterback 29, 23. Bailey Zappi, the Zappinator, almost took his job. This guy is straight up ass. Up against the Colts defense, I don't want anything to do with him. At number 22, we have Ellinger. Ellinger, to me, is at least a little bit more interesting, but the problem is the Patriots own. Bill Belichick owns these young quarterbacks. This is basically Ellinger's rookie year. I know he was drafted last year, but it's basically his rookie year because this is his first time ever starting. The Patriots and Bill Belichick literally torch these young quarterbacks, so Sam Ellinger doesn't have much of a chance. At number 23, we move to Ryan Tannehill of the Les Titans, going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. I'll tell you right now, I am not 100% certain he's even going to be the starting quarterback in this game. I think it might end up being Malik Willis. Either way, if it's Willis or Tannehill, you don't want anything to do with them. And to close out the top 24, we have the MILF Hunter, Zach Wilson of the Jumbo Jets, going up against the Bills. The Bills defense is going to eat this poor bastard alive. He was the quarterback 12 last week. I'll give him some credit. But at the end of the day, he started off hot, but at the end of the game, he was ice cold. Now he gets the Bills defense. Good luck, Charlie. And that's from the Disney Channel. So now we move to the tight end position here with tight end number 1. And you guessed it, tight end number 1 is the best tight end in the NFL, Travis Kelce, going up against the Les Titans defense. Only once this season has Kelce finished outside the top 5. He's the number 1 tight end in fantasy football. You're starting him every single week. Doesn't matter about the matchup. He's going to be my number 1 tight end. At number 2, we have Zach Ertz of the Arizona Cardinals going up against the Seahawks. Last time these two teams played, he was the tight end number 11 on the year. He's currently the tight end number 5. So I am pretty comfortable. Why the fuck do I always say that? I'm always pretty comfortable with Zach Ertz. He's not been the most consistent this year, but he's been a top 12 tight end in basically every single game. Again, this matchup against the Seahawks is really good, so I like him a ton. At number 3, we have Gerald Everett of the Chargers going up against the Atlanta Falcons. Keenan Allen, more than likely out. And then we have Mike Williams out, so who else is Justin Herbert the perfect going to throw the ball to? He's got to throw it to Gerald Everett, which is why he is ranked inside of my top 5 at the tight end position against a bad Atlanta Falcons defense. At 4, we have Tyler Higbee of the LA Rams going up against the Bucs. Cooper Kupp might play, he might not play. Either way, Tyler Higbee has been feasting in the target category. 11, 9, 4, 14, 10, 2, and 6 targets through all of his first starts of the season. He's currently the tight end 16 because he has been hit or miss. He hasn't scored a single touchdown, but he keeps getting volume, and volume is king in fantasy football. At number 5, we have Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts finally having a solid game. Week number 8 up against the Panthers. 9 targets, 5 receptions, 80 receiving yards, 1 touchdown, 17 fantasy points. Tight end number 3 this week, he gets the Chargers. Again, this Chargers defense has been far from ideal. The issue with Kyle Pitts is that he has shown zilch consistency all year long. So if he plays bad in this spot, it wouldn't surprise me. But at the same time, the guy's just too talented to bench. At number 6, we move to Taysom Hill of the New Orleans Saints going up against the Baltimore Ravens. Taysom Hill is extremely hit or miss. He is inconsistent. His ceiling is one of those tall-ass buildings in Dubai. His floor is the fucking basement. He could score 35 fantasy points. He could score 4 fantasy points depending on the usage he gets. He's going to catch maybe a ball every single game. He's going to get a couple of rushing opportunities, and maybe he even gets an opportunity to throw a touchdown. He's the weirdest player to analyze every single week. I know he's going to get work with Andy Dalton under center. The question is how much work, but at the end of the day, the upside is just so high to rank him outside of the top 8. At number 7, we have Mark Andrews. In my opinion, I honestly don't think that Mark Andrews is going to end up playing. He remained out in practice on Friday. He is now truly a game-time decision on Monday Night Football. So if you have Mark Andrews, you best pick up Isaiah Likely so you can make that pivot on Monday. Don't know if we're going to have too much information on Sunday, which is going to make this a very tough situation. At number 8, we have Robert Tonyan of the Green Bay Packers going up against the Detroit Lions. Now, last week up against the Bills, he barrels through a defender, scores a touchdown. They call some bullshit penalty on that. Robert Tonyan only has 1 touchdown on the year. He should have had one last week, should have had a decent game. He's still one of the bigger targets on this team because the Packers don't have too many offensive weapons. So Tonyan has to be ranked inside the top 8. At number 9, we have Hayden Hurst of the Cincinnati Bengals going up against the Carolina Panthers. This guy is pretty decent every single week. He's not a guy that I'm jamming into my lineup, but the matchup up against the Panthers is extremely positive. Up against the tight end position without Jamar Chase, you would think we would see a slightly increased usage of Hayden Hurst. So he's my tight end number 9. At number 10, we have Dawson Knox one time, if you are with me, going up against the Jumbo Jets in MetLife. The Jets are really bad against the tight end. The Jets cannot stop the tight end. Hayden Hurst recently tight end 10 and 13 over his last 2 games. To start off the season, things were extremely bleak. He was one of the tight ends I banged the drum for aggressively all offseason. I was talking up Dawson Knox. He ends up not being the best, but recently he has really hopped back on the saddle. 1 touchdown in both of the last 2 games. Up against the Jets defense, I like him to score another touchdown. At number 11, we have TJ Hawkinson of the Minnesota Vikings going up against the Commanders. TJ Hawkinson's usage has always confused me in Detroit because he's one of the most talented tight ends in the NFL. Now he's on the Minnesota Vikings. The question is, how much usage will he get this week? If you want to be safe, I would say you should probably bench him, but most people don't have that opportunity, so he's a top 12 tight end in my rankings. Number 12, we have Easy Evan Ingram of the Jacksonville Jaguars going up against the Las Vegas Raiders at home in Jacksonville. 2 games in a row inside the top 10 at the tight end position. 7 targets, 6 targets, 6 targets, 10 targets. This guy is getting an ass load of targets thrown his way game in and game out. I know Trevor Lawrence has been inconsistent, but Evan Ingram has still been a solid piece in this offense, and it seems like the team really wants to heavily utilize him. At number 13, we have my guy Mike Licky of the Miami Dolphins going up against the Chi-Town Bears in Chicago. Again, my take on Mike Gesicki will heavily change depending on the weather in Chicago. If it looks clear, there's not going to be a lot of wind, then fire up Gesicki with confidence. If there's going to be a decent amount of wind, I'd probably stay away from him. He scored a touchdown last week. This guy's also been really inconsistent. Tight end 55, 4, 57, 38, 25, 1, 24, 7. The team has definitely tried to utilize him more, though, in the offense, because at the beginning of the season, they were like, he can't block, we're not utilizing him. Now he's seen 7, 7, and 4 targets in the last 3 games. I feel comfortable playing him, but he definitely isn't the definition of safety. Isaiah Likely, if we don't see Andrews play, Isaiah Likely will be ranked inside my top 10. He was tight end 2 last week when Andrews went out. 7 targets, 6 receptions, 77 receiving yards, and a touchdown. The Baltimore Ravens are a tight end factory. At number 15, we have Tyler Conklin of the Jets going up against the Buffalo Bills. Last week, he was the tight end number 1 after everyone dropped him because this guy's usage plummeted off the edge of the fucking earth once Zach Wilson took over. Last week, 10 targets, 6 receptions, 79 receiving yards. Maybe he's back, 2 touchdowns. Maybe he is back with Zach Wilson. but he's playing the Bills this week. So I don't know if I could play be super confident in him. 16, we have Waller. I don't think Waller's going to end up playing either. Waller has been a disaster this season. Another injury-riddled season for him. At 17, we have his backup, Foster Moreau of the Raiders, going up against the Jaguars. If Waller's out, Moreau's guaranteed to be a top 24 option. He's not going to smash for you, but he's just going to be decent. At number 18, again, this is where everything just all hell breaks loose at tight end 17 through 24. 18, we got Cade Otton. Tom Brady does throw the ball to him, but it's not like with Gronk where the guy's going to be like a top 5 tight end every week. He's been getting 3, 4, 5, 6 targets a game. He's decent with them. He hasn't scored yet, so maybe that changes this week. But again, he's not a guy that I'm banging the drum for. At number 19, we have Noah Fant. The Seattle Seahawks love to throw the ball to the tight end. The issue is some weeks it's Disley, some weeks it's Fant, and some weeks both of them just don't do too much. So that's why we got him at tight end number 19. He was tight end 29 last week, tight end 23 on the season in half PPR. At number 20, we have Jawan Johnson, who continues to be a solid target for Andy Dalton. But if he doesn't score, I doubt he's going to crack the top 14. At number 21, we have Will Disley again. We see that Geno Smith loves throwing to the tight end. He's tight end 17 on the season. He hasn't been as safe as of recently. To start off the year, he was tight end 5, 47, 7, and 8. After that, tight end 29, 44, 19, and 38. Not much trust out of Will Disley. At 22, we have Hunter Henry going up against the Indianapolis Colts. Once Zappy was benched, Hunter Henry's upside fell off a fucking cliff. So that's why he's kind of buried down here at tight end 22. At 23, we have Cole Kmet of the Bears. Tight end 12 last week. Hallelujah. Finally a solid game from Cole Kmet, a guy that I loved in the offseason. Problem is the Bears really spread the ball around, and the addition of Chase Claypool doesn't help that at all. Tight end 24, Logan Thomas, hasn't played in weeks. Seems like he might play this week. If he does, he should be decent. He played decent with Heineke. So that's really all I got on him. So thank you guys all so much for watching. If you did end up enjoying today's video, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, as well as hitting that like button. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at notoriousFNTSY. Make sure you guys check out this special offer from DraftKings. Bet $5 on any pregame money line. And if that bet wins, you'll receive $200 in free bets. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I love you guys all so much. I hope you have a great rest of your guys' day. And as always, goodbye!